Hey everyone, in this video we are going to insert records into our database subject, the realm, class, family, type, and database tables. You'll get to kind of understand how we're going to start classifying things. At the end of this video, I'll give some query examples on how to use this. But for the most part, we have to almost work backwards. We have to insert into tables calling the database because we don't have synonyms yet. We're going to have to do some things that are not best practices before we can fully automate the system, because we have to get the ball rolling somewhere. We don't want to manually be doing this. These videos will be like the last series, just way too long. So our plan today, fill those tables with some data manually, adjust the create database single procedure to check to see if the record exists and fill the database table if it doesn't. And I think that should be good. So see you soon. All right, so in order to start classifying, we're going to start inserting records. The realm is the topmost general item that we look at for a particular subject, and in the database's case, I'm going to use relational because SQL is a relational database. For class, I'm going to use transact SQL under the relational realm. This is because we have access to Polybase, so we can store Oracle, Postgres, whatever we need in terms of databases in our system. This is one system that will rule them all. For the family, I'm going to do local, so we have the option of looking for local or, external items. And then for the types, it's the types that we used back in 01, where we have the main, our current data that we're going to be using and operating on, history, any changes that have happened will be stored in history, whether procedures or data, whatever changes, archive for stuff that's been removed, and we'll get into creating tables for history and archive later, and finally snapshot. Same thing goes with snapshot. And please note that I am making my key names at the same time because this is how we're going to be accessing the database. And in order to do that, I'm going to alter that first procedure we created, that database create single, because I want to make sure that we have our databases in the database table. And now I'm going to create a process only data type called generic key to let us know that this is a primary or foreign key somewhere. And I'm going to be declaring the system ID because the database needs to know what system it's in. And finally, the database type ID. So because we have the database type name as an incoming parameter, we'll be able to classify that. So just need to add some comments really quick since I'm in here. Less to do in the tech debt video. All right. So I created a snippet in my last video, and we're going to need that snippet because we need to get the system ID. So here, for right now, I do have to use db system main, but we're going to remove this from the system. Our system shouldn't know about the databases themselves. We should be using synonyms so we can put the databases on any system, different drives, whatever we need to do. Very flexible system. So just simple one system rule them, so I know that any databases that I'm creating here will belong to my system, this system that we're creating. So I guess our system, not just my system. Just quick comment, get system ID. And I do like to add my realm, class, family, types in my comments, so it's a lot easier. And I'm going to start trying to remove tech debt. So for here, as long as we made sure that the database name and type name are not null, we're going to go get the type ID. And once again, I'm going to use that snippet I created. I'm going to use RefDatabase as my autofill. And just start doing the database system main, making sure that all of my objects can be found, and then go backwards. A relational database, this is t-sql, This is local because we are creating it right now. And this is where the type ID is, or the type key name that we're passing in. So I don't need that top, so I could just remove it, the base ID, the database ID. And here I can just get my database type ID. So once again, just going to add my comments for the realm class family type. And I want you to imagine how readable a one-line function using these capital words will be. So in the end, our system will create these simple one-line functions, kind of like file path, where we just pass it a tenant ID, who owns this data, followed by the realm class family type or parameters. We can make this very flexible if I can type correctly. So just a simple condition. If my database type ID is not null, and if my actual database doesn't exist yet, so I just do select top 1 try to, in and out on the index. And oh, believe me, we're gonna get really in depth with optimization and indexing techniques and how our definitions table will create them for us, because we're going to do a lot of data-driven stuff. So we can use the definitions table and the relationship table to not only generate code, but to generate our indexes too. So for here, simple database check, database type ID matches. I'm building the database name, and I'm just making sure that it's part of the system ID that I got. So if it doesn't exist, we're going to just insert. And we still have to do system main and then tblRefDatabase. Now here's a neat trick that I learned. You can use the find and replace, and you can use regex. So I'm going to replace comma with new line /n followed by comma, and it's gonna kind of format it for me. And because we have defaults set up and I don't have a change management procedure yet, I'm just going to remove a lot of these fields that I don't need right now, which is most of them. I honestly just need the parent, the type. I'm going to do the specific data set number, and then the name and the key name. Oh, and the tenant. So just a little bit of formatting. Honestly, I could just remove all this. And I'll do this. All right, 1. The table doesn't exist yet, but 1 will be our system. The system ID, the database type ID, 0 right now for the specific data set number. So do db plus database name plus database type name. And then finally upper just the database name, because the database type name contains main or history, so we'll be able to isolate it. We don't want to, we want to use that realm class family type as much as possible. So I'll just add a comment here. Insert in a database table, replace with change management procedure. All right. And if database type ID is not null, this comment replaced with null raise error. We're going to make a messaging system. We're going to keep our if statements very small. It should be if condition begin raise error end. So we're going to program it like that. What I'm doing right now is I'm just executing the unit creator, because we have our if exists in both the record and creating the database. And because of that, we don't get any errors, but I can fill my database table. And this is what I have right now. Our 4 databases, 4 for interface, 4 for system, already in our table, ready to be used via data-driven whatever. So now kind of using this class family type, other than looking up the system, I can do things like, give me all my interface databases. Well, if we want to be more specific, then give me my interface main database, and I'll just end it here, or end the in. So give me my archive database. At any single level, give me relational databases, give me local databases, give me Oracle databases in my system. That is the type of power that we're going to get into with this system, and it's almost like Avalanche development. It's slow at first, but once you start getting used to it, the time to produce, the time to feature add is so small. It's crazy. It really is. And you'll see that in this series. That's it for the database subject. And thank you very much for watching. Remember, please like to recommend this video to other users and subscribe to support me. I'll see you in the next video.